What up, guys? It's January 26th, and let's do a little bit of a fun video today. Let's put all that earnings stuff to the side for now because I'm getting overloaded with so many companies reporting EPS, revenue guidance, and trying to figure out the year-over-year numbers and their margins, whether they're going up or down. Let's put all that stuff to the side, do a little bit funner video, and talk about your portfolio's exposure to artificial intelligence. Okay, so we all go through these cycles in exposing our portfolios to tech. Of course, tech has been a really bad bet in the last year, but it won't always be the same way. And you always want to jump ahead of the next big thing, the next big cycle. So that's what I want to talk about in this video today, all right? Before, of course, we get started, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, and hopefully you learn something from these videos and we have some fun. In the meantime, let's get to it. All right, so we'll bring up the page here and let's go over this here. So this company called OpenAI, I encourage you to go to this website, openai.com, just came up with a fabulous product that will change your life called ChatGPT. Chances are, if you haven't heard about it, you live under a rock. But if you've heard about it, good for you. Use it in every aspect of your life. I found myself using it in my personal life for making videos here on YouTube, in my work, my regular line of work. I've used it many, many times, and I'll probably be paying for it as soon as they start charging for it very soon. But of course, let me give you guys an example here of what this software does. So it's a very simple software, right? Chat.openai.com. And you can see here, very simple. On this side, you have your chats, right, that you're having with the artificial intelligence. And here I can start a new chat, just a brand new page. It kind of gives you here an example of what you can ask it, right? And that's the hardest part of the software, is figuring out what to ask it. But really, you can ask it pretty much anything silly. So I can ask it, can you write me a short story about the Denver Broncos in the style of Star Wars? Let's see what it does. So I wrote it that question, can you write me a short story about the Denver Broncos in the style of Star Wars? And it's sitting here thinking, and there it goes. In a galaxy far, far away, the Denver Broncos were a powerful force in the NFL. Yeah, I wish. Led by their fearless quarterback, Luke Skywalker Manning. Okay, that's different. Luke Skywalker Manning. The team embarked on a quest to bring the Vince Lombardi Trophy to the Mount House City. Their journey was filled with challenges as they faced off against formidable opponents, blah, 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 the Darth Raiders. And so you see, right, this is what the AI is doing, and it's doing it on Peyton Manning, which was a quarterback until 2018, 2019, because it's not giving you anything after 2021, where the new quarterback is, of course, Russell Wilson. So it's giving you a story based on what you asked it, and it's giving you exactly what you asked it. So very powerful tool for your everyday life, for work. If you're a student, from an early student in preschool or in elementary school, all the way to college, this is an extremely powerful tool in your business. This has applications all kinds of different ways. It's going to make a ton of money and grow by 1,000-fold from the size it is today. Now let's move back a little bit. We're talking about tech cycles in the past, and the examples I can give you pretty simply put here, right? So back in 2010 and 2015, remember 3G technology in cell phones, 4G LTE, how Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile took advantage of those things. In order to be exposed to that cycle, you would have to buy stocks like that. Also stocks like American Tower or Crown Castle, which are tower REITs. You would have bought those and you would have been very well exposed to those technologies, right? Social media back in 2012 to present, I would argue that social media trend is already peaked, of course, and that cycle's already peaked and on its way down. But if you had bought Facebook, right, or now known as Meta or Twitter or whatever, Snapchat, back in those days, you would have done pretty well. I don't know when those became public, but I'm sure a couple of those were around, okay? In 2012 to present, electric vehicles, automation, robotics. If you would have bought Tesla back in 2015 to 2018, you made a killing. That's all before all these crazy, silly, like splits that they do to kind of incentivize you to buy the stock, and it really does nothing as far as the valuation of a stock. But before all these splits, you would have made a ton of money if you bought Tesla, right? Also with factory automation and robotics. That's a big cycle still going on to this day on electric vehicles, right? 2019 to 2021, cryptocurrency and blockchain. No doubt that was a tech cycle. If you bought Bitcoin, if you bought Ethereum, you did pretty well if you let it go back when it hit all-time highs during the pandemic, kind of like 2021, sort of mid 2021 level. You would have done very well. After that, not so much. I also don't see what stocks you would have bought that would have done good in that cycle. So this is kind of a little bit of a bust cycle, if you ask me. When I'm talking about FTX, Voyager, all those companies that went just kaput, right? Definitely not a good cycle, but a cycle nonetheless. And then, of course, the 5G cycle. I don't know if you guys remember. I know if you followed me before, I used to talk about Skyworks Solutions, Marvell Technology, which we still own. We do not own Skyworks, but these were companies that we were using to expose our portfolio to the 5G trend and the everything connected sort of technology. And of course, cloud computing and the edge. Everybody remembers the rise of the Azure cloud from Microsoft and AWS, and also the kind of smaller. I remember companies like Switch, like Atlassian, like what other companies? Nothing else comes to mind, but you know what I mean with these smaller sort of cloud enabling companies. Digital healthcare, and we're talking about Teladoc Health. Remember before Teladoc was famous, lockdowns happened and everybody ran to telehealth. They did pretty well, and you would expose your portfolio very well if you own Teladoc in those days. Now, moving on to the new trend, which we're talking about is artificial intelligence and data. And I should make a notable mention that we do own Palantir for data analytics, interpretation, and artificial intelligence for our portfolio. So one of the stocks that has nothing to do with ChatGPT that we own in our portfolio for artificial intelligence and data collection is Palantir. Okay, let's not talk about Palantir in this video. I don't want to be one of those people that mentions Palantir in every single video they do. I'm not one of those guys that fanboys over it. So let's move on. All right, so let's talk about Microsoft and the Azure cloud. So that's going to be the main way to expose your portfolio to ChatGPT and artificial intelligence through ChatGPT is Microsoft, right? You would buy shares of Microsoft, automatically exposed to it because they are the big investor, the big money guys in this new technology. So it says here, Microsoft is one of the companies that has developed and maintained versions of the GPT model, which is basis for ChatGPT. It's called 2 or 3, are among the largest and most powerful language models available, can be used for a variety of natural language processing tasks, such as language translation, text summarization, and question answering. That's the powerful tool right now for folks like you and me. It says Microsoft provides the cloud-based infrastructure and services such as the Azure cloud, which allows developers to train and deploy the models at scale. Additionally, Microsoft provides software development skills and application programming interfaces that make it easy for developers to integrate GPT models into their own applications. So this is talking about engineers actually being able to integrate their software into their own programs that they're working for to make their workflows better, or for data analytics, interpretation, things of that sort. That's what it's for there, okay? Now, Microsoft is sort of like the base where it sits, right? It's sort of the base where the soldiers sit. And the next exposure would be NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is sort of like, NVIDIA and the semiconductors are sort of like the arms dealers that equip the soldiers to fight this fight, right? They're the ones that give the equipment for ChatGPT and the artificial intelligence to actually work here. So we're talking about NVIDIA, and we asked ChatGPT, how does NVIDIA's GPU help ChatGPT, right? And it talks about the GPUs, graphic processing units. That is a video card. That's the lame way to say it. Video card are powerful parallel processors that can accelerate the training and inference of machine learning models like ChatGPT. They can perform many calculations, which makes them much faster than traditional CPUs. CPUs are the computer central processing units. That's the brain of the computer, not a video card, but a CPU chip, like the brain of the computer, made by Intel, also AMD holding in our portfolio, right, for certain types of computations. So it says the model's parameters need to be updated millions or billions of times based on input data. These updates are done by performing matrix multiplications and other linear algebraic operations. So essentially what it is, it's you need a lot of computing power through GPUs to make artificial intelligence work and work fast. What I know right now, what I've looked at right now is that OpenAI, the enablers of ChatGPT, are using this A100 chipset from NVIDIA. That's an older but effective chipset. Right now, they're looking to upgrade to the H100 Hopper chipset, which is more expensive but more efficient. So this would allow NVIDIA to sell more of these newer, more expensive chips and increase their bottom line, obviously. So there's your exposure through NVIDIA, okay? They also talk here about CUDA, C-U-D-A, and C-U-D-N-N. I won't go too much into that. I'm not a programmer or a software engineer, but to me, CUDA looks like it's essentially like the software platform that the sort of like the brain sort of algorithm sits on. That's what it seems like to me. If you're a software engineer or you have more clarity on this, leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you on CUDA and C-U-D-N-N, okay? Now, I mentioned here AMD because AMD also manufactures GPUs, video cards, but right now I couldn't find anything that shows me that AMD is supplying GPU chips that will facilitate, ChatGPT or OpenAI. I do know for sure that the Azure cloud does use their EPYC 3 processors that AMD makes. So I do believe that you do have exposure if you own AMD to the ChatGPT sort of tech cycle or the AI cycle, right? Now, let's move on. The next layer of exposure to AI would come through ASML and Taiwan Semiconductor. ASML will focus a little bit more on ASML here. This is a semiconductor machine maker. They do not make computer chips. They make the machines that make the computer chips. And they have a proprietary technology on what's called EUV, extreme ultraviolet lithography. So we ask ChatGPT, what is that technology? And it says EUV is a type of lithography technology that uses extremely short wavelength light and extreme EUV range to create very small, precise patterns on a silicone wafer. If you don't know what a silicone wafer is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a disc, it's a flat disc or circle essentially, that, or like a CD essentially, in which the chip is printed on, it gets cut, and that's how you make computer chips, right? ASML will make those the machines that make the wafer, and they will sell those machines to companies like Taiwan Semiconductor to make the wafers, all right? It says here it's a Dutch company, leading suppliers of EUV systems, which are used by semiconductor manufacturers to produce the latest generation of computer chips. It's exactly what I told you here, all right? So again, just to be sure you guys got that, right? So you're exposed if you own ASML, and if you own Taiwan Semi, you're exposed to artificial intelligence on a secondary type of layer, if that makes sense, all right? Now, finally, we'll talk about Micron, okay? So for all this stuff to work in artificial intelligence, you need lots of memory, and you don't get any more kind of memory company than Micron, okay? And with Micron, we're talking about two different types of memory. We have to talk about NAND and DRAM memory. What you have to understand about Micron right now, Micron is not a good stock to buy, in my opinion. I am not a buyer of Micron in any day of the week for probably a long time. There's right now a supply glut with Micron. There's just way too much supply out there, and these guys are suffering at the moment. Suffering. If you pull up a chart, and I won't do that here. If you pull up a chart of Micron, it's just blood and guts everywhere. So when it comes to Micron, buy it under 45 if you want, but it's an extreme long-term exposure to artificial intelligence. But just to put it lightly here, ChatGPT is a large language model that requires a significant amount of memory to store its parameters and intermediate data during training and inference. The amount of memory that's required can vary depending on the specific architecture and configuration of the model. But for example, for these models, it requires several terabytes of memory to store. That's a lot of memory. So I won't go through all this here with Micron, but if you do want exposure to AI, Micron is certainly a way to play it, but it's a very long-term way to play it because you have to wait for this supply glut to essentially work itself out, and the prices of these memory chips can rise. So there you have it, guys. Here's my short video on exposure to AI and to kind of see if your portfolio is exposed to artificial intelligence through Microsoft, NVIDIA, ASML, AMD, and Taiwan Semi. If anybody knows of any other potential exposures out there to this artificial intelligence technology, even if it's just ChatGPT, let me know. Drop me a line below on the comments. I'll definitely highlight that comment. I'd love to hear from you if you have something that I don't know about. But again, as usual, if there's any way that I can be helpful to you in your investing journey, please reach out to me here on YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram, where I post sort of daily news there. Peace out.